All right, Eric, this is gonna be my favorite part. This is the short portions. So we're gonna go with 3 with me. So in 3 with me, I'm gonna ask Eric 3 real estate questions, and he's gotta give me the scenario play out to each one of these questions. Are you ready, Eric?
Let's do it.
All right. If you can give me an example, what hard realities you've been giving your sellers, like letting them know, hey, the price from yesterday is not the price of today. What are those kind of conversations that you're having these days?
It's funny that you ask because I literally just had 2 listing appointments this week, and those are the conversations that we're having to have. I think ultimately, when you do a good job of making or reassuring the seller that you have one job, and not only, of course, is it to have a smooth transaction and make it as easy as possible for them, but it's ultimately to put as much money in their pocket. That's ultimately, you can be the prettiest or the hottest realtor out there and, say you're this and you're that, but at the end of the day, the realtor that put the most money in their pocket is going to take the win, right? So I think reassuring them that, hey, ultimately, my job is to put the most amount of money in your pocket, and there's no reason why I wouldn't want to sell your house for more. I get paid on commission. The more money you make, the more money I make. So I would love, Mr. Seller, I would love to sit here and tell you that your house is worth $500 because your neighbor's house down the street sold for $500, but that's just not the case anymore. If I could sell your house for $500, I will. But these are what the numbers are. Really explaining that to them and really giving them, different solutions of this route will get you paid and will get you a smooth escrow. Overpricing will get you this. So really breaking down to them, but again, reminding them that why not would you sell their house for more if you could, right?
Yeah.
It's the end goal. I want to make more money, of course, and I want you to make more money, but I also want you to have a good experience.
Yeah.
So for X amount of dollars, because that's what your neighbor's house sold for a year and a half ago, is not going to give you a good experience, and it's not going to get you paid.
No, that's a good point. Really, really good point, because everybody wants yesterday's price.
Exactly.
In this current market, at least.
In this current market. So ultimately reminding them, hey, if I could sell your house for $1 million, I would, but I also want you to have a good experience.
Yeah.
And I'm here to, set the expectations to be realistic. So having that open, transparent conversation beforehand, after it's too late,
Yeah.
once you've been on the market for too long, those aren't happy conversations. So it's better to address, and have give them, this isn't like a one size fits all. This isn't like, this is what we're going to do. This is what I like to give them, different options. If we list for this price, this is what you can experience. If you list for this price, this is what you can experience. And if you list for this price, this is what you can experience. What kind of transaction do you want to have?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And let me tell you, after you break it down to them, they always end up going with, we want the realistic, smooth transaction that's going to get us paid.
Right. No, you're right. You're 100% right. Now we're going to go on to number 2, Eric. This is more of a situational scenario. If an appraisal comes back $10,000 under what the contract price is and you're representing the buyer, what options do you...
So 10,000, the appraisal came in 10,000 short.
Yeah.
And I'm representing the buyer. Mm-hmm. It hasn't happened in a while. But let me tell you, it really comes down to the dollar amount of I would never lose a transaction. And when I have been in situations where the appraisal came in at $10,000 short, of course, I'm a very good job of educating the listing agent on how they can have the conversation with the seller of, hey, you're going to list your home. You're going to have to make an extra mortgage payment. So most people's mortgage payment, these days is about $3,000. So we're dealing with $10,000. You're already going to lose $3,000 there from having to start all over again. Okay, who's to say that again? Your next offer may be less. So that's always my route. Is I always like to kind of gauge on who I'm dealing with when it comes to a listing agent, and if I see that they're inexperienced or they're newer, completely fine. But it's my job to educate them, as that's who's going to present a solution to the seller. Route number 1. And then option number 2 would be, we're just going to make it work. We're going to figure it out. There's 3 people that can make this work, and it's the lender and both agents. I'll call the lender, hey, where can we get creative? What can you do? Give them some lender credit, call your boss. And then I'll call the other agent and say, hey, we're gonna make it work. You're gonna kick in this much. You're gonna, I'll kick in this much out of my commission, but I'm never gonna call a buyer and say, hey, you're not getting keys because we need $10,000. Now, granted, I still have to get paid, right? So I can't afford to do this all the time. So it's not a situation where I can afford to give all of my clients $10,000, right? If not, I wouldn't be in business. But when opportunities like this, situations like this presents itself, we have to get creative and we have to make it work. And, it's important working with an agent that obviously has the experience to be able to navigate these issues, but also be in a situation where they could say, hey, I could help you. And that's not always the case. And, there's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes realtors aren't in a situation where they could say, hey, I can give you a couple $1,000s, or I can do this. I can help, bridge the gap. So it's not something that, needs to be done for every situation, every realtor. I'm not expecting my agents to do it. That's just how I handle the situation. And like I said, I wouldn't ever lose a transaction or have a very difficult conversation with the buyer of saying, you're not getting keys. I mean, everyone has a 401k for the most part. We could pull from 401k, call the in-laws, ask them for a bit of cash. And once we've exhausted all those options, then it's like, okay, then we're gonna have to get creative here.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So the third question, and I know you've been waiting for this third question, is say I want to get my license, or actually I don't have my license,
You don't have
and
your
I'm
license,
trying to
okay.
figure out where I want to go. And you're a broker, and I meet you, and I'm like, Eric, I want to work at your office. What are the things that I should look for? What would you tell me walking into your office? Me telling you I want to become a real estate agent, I got these glissy eyes, like, oh yeah, let's do it.
I love that. I interviewed a gentleman. He's 22 years old. Actually, I probably shouldn't say. I shouldn't get into more details of what he's going to school for. But anyway, he's going into school for something that could very easily be tied into real estate. And I interviewed him today at 2 o'clock. Very sharp. But it's great that you're asking me this question because I just experienced this today. And I always like to think of it as like you need to secret shop these brokerages, right? Ask the agents that work there. Shoot them a DM on Instagram. There's going to be no one that's more honest than the people that already work there. You call every single one of those brokers, they're all going to tell you that they're the best brokerage in town. Where, I never say, hey, I'm the best brokerage in town. And one thing that I find that people think is a little silly and different is after all of my interviews with every agent, I say, because they get excited sometimes. I show them the tools, they come in here, they get greeted by Alex, they love her bubbly personality, so they get excited. They're like, wow, this is such a beautiful office. And they want to work here right away. So if I feel that it's a good fit for myself and the rest of the team, because I always take them into consideration when making a decision with I encourage them to interview somewhere else. And I encourage them to, secret shop the broker. Because I don't want to ever hire somebody that I feel is a good fit for us if we're not a good fit for them. And I don't ever want somebody to be here for 3 months and be curious about what the neighbor down the street has to offer. Go find out and then come back. So ultimately just, check out their online presence, talk to the people that work there, drop in unannounced. I want to talk to the broker. Oh, the broker's not here. When can I talk to the broker? And if the receptionist says, then, there you go. The broker's not ever in there. Or the sales manager versus you walk in here, ask to talk to the broker. I'm either here or I just left.
Yeah.
And, you just missed me. So I think that having the neutral point of view is huge because you can go straight to the broker and they're all going to paint you this perfect picture of why they're the best brokerage and they have the most tools. And there's a lot of really good brokerages in this community. We're just all a little different. So I think that really reaching out to neutral parties and kind of reaching out to them and saying, hey, what do you like about working at Lifestyle Realty? What do you not like about working for Lifestyle Realty? Ultimately asking them, the hard questions. How often are you in the office? What kind of trainings do you have? What kind of tools do you have? How many people have you lost in the last 6 months? I mean, no one wants to be asked that question, but why not?
Yeah.
Or, and those are the situations where if people are leaving, why are people leaving your company? That's never a good sign. So, yeah, just really having a neutral approach.
Perfect. Awesome. Eric, thanks again.
Thank you. That was great.